Earning your degree online doesn't mean you have to go about it alone. At Capella University, we're here to support you when you're ready. From enrollment counselors who get to know you and your goals, to academic coaches who can help you form a plan to stay on track. We care about your success and are dedicated to helping you pursue your goals. Going back to school is a big step, but having support at every step of your academic journey can make a big difference. Imagine your future differently at capella.edu.
Today's episode, the Fed officials leave door open to another large interest rate cut. We're going to talk about embedding content in LinkedIn articles, and then we're going to talk about mind mapping. Enjoy.
When you're calling to me from outside of a dream, I wanna live, I wanna love you a little longer. I was invincible many years ago when I was so much stronger.
Welcome to the Age of Jeremy. If you're new to this show, my name is Jeremy Quintanilla. I am the host of the show, Age of Jeremy, obviously. This is all about the trials and tribulations that I go through as I build my family businesses or my corporations or all the stuff that I'm involved in, essentially. If you're not aware, I own a business called 32R Academy with the influencer Coach JV. You can follow him at Coach JV_ on every social media platform. You can follow me at Age of Jeremy on most social media platforms. On Facebook, it's Cesar Jeremy Quintanilla. On LinkedIn, it's Cesar Jeremy Quintanilla because of the verification process. And on Twitter, it's at Age of Jeremy Q. Everywhere else, it's Age of Jeremy. And so you should check me out if you can on there. The other thing that you should do is go ahead and join my Dope Updates channel. It's called Dope Updates. It's updates about what's going on in my life, but I also give privy to those individuals about things that I'm working on that I don't give privy to anybody else, like on here or on my other social media platforms. And so I just recommend that you join that. I enjoy making content, and I have committed my life to social media. I know that sounds weird, but after I realized a few things about me as a human being, not only through my human design, which is an astrological process that identifies an individual and essentially who they are and what they should be doing and how they are doing things, right? And so like with their life based off of their astrological signs, but it takes other things into account. Just look up human design. I'm not going to go into it here. Point is that with my human design, I make most of my wealth through networking and relationship building, which is absolutely 100% true, based off of my skill set and my managerial skills and what I can do, along with my creativity skills, which I'm sharing a lot more and doing a lot more, but I do a lot more of that stuff kind of on my own. But I'm really good at building businesses, and my ability to network and take other people's ideas and make them better, stronger, and to implement them is where my benefit is. So it's really important for me to build a very vast network, one. And then secondly, because I am a extrovert, doesn't mean, well, I'm traditionally an extrovert by the normal way that people think of about extrovert. But more importantly, when I'm in solitude, I lose my energy, where my energy is found when I'm with other people. So as soon as I start getting around other people, even if I'm in a shitty mood, I start to feel better, which is how an extrovert usually gets their energy and recharges. So where an introvert recharges more when they're by themselves, I recharge more when I'm out and around people. And so I am love social media. And so me getting better at identifying who I am and the things that make me stronger, I'm trying to go deeper into those things. And that's the reason why I have so much stuff with social media, is because that's something that makes me, it's something that gives me energy, right? It doesn't take energy away from me because I don't engage with shitty people, I guess would be the best way to say it. And that's not going to be the same for every single person. But that's the reason why I'm saying, if you are interested in social media stuff, follow me, because I love social media, and the channels that feature inside of Instagram is something that I've talked about for a little bit. I am continuing to add to that. So join my Dope Updates inside of my Instagram channel. And like I said, you can go to the profile and find it, or maybe I didn't say it because this might be a second take on this, because I hit a button and screwed everything up on the first take. So this is a second take on me doing this part of the podcast. So go to Instagram, go to the profile, go to my channel. It's called Dope Updates. Click on it and get some other updates about everything that's going on with my business building in my life and the things that I'm working to. And I'm working to do more than 3 or 4 posts in there a week. Some weeks I go down, some weeks I go up, but where I'm really working on that and really trying to build out a really great social media strategy for the brand Age of Jeremy, which is the age that you are all currently living in, I guess. Sounds very narcissistic when I say it that way, but that's what I'm going to say. So here I am. Now, the last thing that I want to say is go over to YouTube, check out all of the Age of Radio podcasts at Age of Radio, or make sure that you follow the Coach JV podcast or the CJV podcast. Follow CJV because he's my business owner. He is one of my dearest and bestest friends, and I want to make sure that he continues to grow because we are building an amazing, amazing, amazing legacy. All right. So last week, the Fed cut interest rates by 50 basis points. So just so you know, 1 basis point would be like 0.01%. So if you hear someone say 50 basis points, it's like 0.50. So it's like 0.5%. So 100 basis points would be 1%. So just think about it that way. But the point of this is that the Fed is leaving the door open to another large interest rate cut. This is coming from a Bloomberg article. You know, I'm a big fan of Michael Bloomberg and Bloomberg, whether you guys think he's, I don't know, some like a crazy socialist or not. I mean, he was a capitalist for a very long time, Republican Party. He moved over to the Democratic Party, was an independent party. So I'm just a fan of Michael Bloomberg. I'm a fan of the Bloomberg brand and what their news organization and the services that they offer through media and through their software. So you should check it out, but get a subscription to Bloomberg. I'm always talking about this. I wish that I had my link so I could get paid for pushing people over to Bloomberg, but here we are. A handful of Federal Reserve officials on Monday left open the door to additional large interest rate cuts, noting that current rates still weigh heavily on the U.S. economy. This is an article in Bloomberg from Katerina Saraiva and Janelle Marte and Miranda Davis. And this is from September 23rd, 2024, which is the day that I'm recording this. You should be hearing it on September 24th, 2024. Over the next 12 months, we have a long way to come down to get the interest rate to something like natural to try to hold the conditions where they are. This is coming from the Chicago Fed President Austin Goolsbee. He said it in a moderated Q&A event. Neither Goolsbee nor any of his colleagues said they already favor repeating the half-point cut, the 50 basis points, made by the central bank on September 18th, which was last Thursday, saying incoming data would guide their decision making. The Federal Open Market Committee next meets just after the presidential election on November 6th and 7th. The Chicago Fed chief said he estimated the central bank's current benchmark interest rate was hundreds of basis points above neutral, the level at which policy neither stimulates nor restricts economy growth. And so there's a neutral point, and they believe it's hundreds of basis points above. So 100 basis points is 1%. So they're thinking that it is like 2 or 3 or 4% above all still where it needs to be neutral, where the interest rate doesn't restrict or add to the economic growth. So a neutral rate cannot be directly measured. It can only be estimated. So they're estimating that we're still 3 or 4% or at least 2% higher or 200 basis points. And remember, 100 is basis point. Okay. 100 basis points is 1%. Goolsbee, who sounded more strident than other officials in calling for lower borrowing costs, emphasized that employment conditions and inflation were each of favorable levels, but wouldn't remain so unless the Fed lowered rates significantly in the coming months. If you're restricted for too long, you're not going to be at that sweet spot on the dual mandate for much longer, he said. Goolsbee, Atlanta Fed President Raphael Bolstick, and Minneapolis Neil Kashkari all said Monday, the 23rd, they supported the decision taken by the Fed officials last week to lower their benchmark rate by 0.5 percentage point to a range of 4.75% to 5%. In projections also released last week, the mean estimate of the longer run neutral rate from Fed officials was 2.9%. Right. So that's meaning that the neutral rate is probably somewhere about 2.9%. So if we're at 4.75% or around 5%, we need to get that at least down to 2.9% to be neutral. The projections also show a wide range of views among officials on where rates should be at the end of 2022. Now, you can go and check out this article. There's going to be a link in the description when you go to that link and you hit, it's going to ask you to pay. Just pay. Buy Bloomberg. I would recommend it. If you enjoy news and reading news and finance news and staying up to date, I would highly recommend that you get this Bloomberg article, because it's kind of telling us where interest rates are going. Now, my problem is that depending on how fast that they lower the interest rates could cause an inflationary event. The other problem that I have with the inflation, and I don't know right now, the S&P, it looks like, let me go check the markets right now. Where did they end up for the day? All right, so the S&P 500 is up today. The NASDAQ is up. The US 10-year is up. The crude oil is up. So everything's going up. And the reason is because they cut the interest rates. So the idea is that we're in a place where the economy can grow. The problem with that is that we are over bubbleized in our security market. We need to have some type of event to bring us back down from all of this growth that we've experienced, because we'll always have a recession in some capacity every 7 to 10 years. Everything can't grow forever because things are getting overvalued, and those values need to reset. And so when the Fed did this, it pushed us, our sentiment, or our investment sentiment, higher, so that we went out and started investing more into the economy, which you're starting to see in this week with everything being up, where we need things to kind of come back down and stabilize, because what will eventually happen, in my opinion, it will keep going up, and then we will end up pushing ourselves into a much worse recession. But from the Fed's perspective, I understand with where we are at, easing some of that so we can get the economy to a neutral state where it's growing, where it's not growing, and it's not growing, so that we can kind of balance things out. And so while this pushed it higher, as that eventually comes down and they try to find that neutral growth, I think that will be around the time that we also see the recession happen and all of these markets pull back. So I would just be on the lookout for that, because we're not going to grow forever. I would just make sure that you have a lot of things in place. One of the best things to have in place for something like this, especially if you're just investing into the open market, is to have something like indexed universal life insurance as one of your main investment vehicles or part of your diversification strategy. Because with permanent life insurance, whether it's IUL or whole life works a little bit different because the money doesn't get paid out to the beneficiary the same. But if you use indexed universal life insurance, you're indexed to a market, it's going to grow with the market, and you're going to get paid out from the insurance company. But if something declines or we collapse, your principal's protected. And so you can think about it as like insuring your wealth. So if you're interested in something like that, you can go ahead and DM me. There is a link in the episode description to set up a free consultation for me, and that free consultation with me. And that consultation, it can be about your investments, it could be about taxes, it could be about index universal life insurance, it could be about whatever you want it to be. Our goal, or my goal here, just in general, is to make sure that people are educated in the financial space, what's going on in the financial space, so that they can make decisions for themselves, because people are able to make better decisions for themselves than allowing some other individual, whether they're a fiduciary or not, to make those decisions for them. We'll be right back after these messages.
How do custom orders work on Kraken? Imagine I'm a music producer, dialing in my newest track. Need more bass? Crank it. Vocals not popping? Double it up. Want a bigger sound? Hit that reverb. Hard. That's custom orders on Kraken. Complete control over your crypto trades. Go to Kraken.com and see what crypto can be. Not investment advice. Crypto trading involves risk of loss. Cryptocurrency services are provided to U.S. and U.S. territory customers by Payward Interactive Inc. View PWI's disclosures on Kraken.com/legal/disclosures.
The great visionary leader of India, Mahatma Gandhi, said, "It is health that is real wealth, and not pieces of gold and silver." Listen to the Healthy Grocer radio show on your favorite podcast platform. We know that health is our greatest wealth, and we will be discussing all aspects of natural healing. Explore everything from supplements, superfoods, and healthy lifestyle choices to help conquer stress and boost productivity. Top industry experts and natural health professionals join us for a deep dive into our healing journey. You can find the Healthy Grocer radio show on demand every day, wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And remember, health is your greatest wealth.
LinkedIn has a podcast called Hello Monday, and it's a piece of content marketing. And what it does is the host, I think her name's Jessie, she talks about the way in which work exists today and how it's changing in the workplace. And the goal is to for you to listen to it and then learn about the stuff that LinkedIn has going on, which is what we call content marketing. Originally, I was going to use this podcast to talk about content marketing. And so I'm going to start talking a lot more about it because I think content marketing is the best piece of marketing that anybody can do. And essentially you're listening to content marketing right now because I'm providing you a podcast where I give you information, where I entertain you, hopefully maybe every once in a while. And then I'm able to utilize this to have your attention, to push you to listen to the Age of Radio podcast, to fill out the form so we can talk to you about insurance and so forth. And that's how content marketing works. And we're going to be talking a lot more about it. One of the best podcasts about content marketing and where I fell in love with it from is This Old Marketing. So I recommend that you listen to that podcast, and you can also follow it on LinkedIn. And so one of the things about LinkedIn is that you can create newsletters from it, which I've talked about on here before, and I'm a big advocate for. I don't currently have a newsletter. I'm working on creating one. My problem is I don't want to create something that I don't have a good strategy for or plan for, where I can just focus on that for 9 months and make that better and better for a period of time, rather than, having a bunch of stuff happen. For example, I started my Reality Bites series and I have done 3 episodes of it. That's mainly because I need more time with an editor or to hire an editor and to create the content, which is easy because they're just short clips about what's going on throughout the day. But I only have 3 episodes for that. And they did really good when I had put them out, but then I stopped making them because of the amount of time that it took to edit it. But that's neither here nor there. The point is that LinkedIn has newsletters. Okay. And so they have the ability to embed podcast episodes into it. So the Hello Monday newsletter, it's a newsletter that comes out, it gets emailed to me, I get a notification on my phone, and I go there and I can listen to the podcast right in there. They embed the Megaphone link, Embed link, which is Megaphone's a platform that Age of Radio uses. It's owned by Spotify, but you can also link in your YouTube episode. You can link in a Vimeo episode or, video. You can link embed in a Spotify podcast episode or a Spotify episode, which is what I'm going to start doing for these through articles. And so the point is that LinkedIn's a great platform for you to utilize. If you can get your content to be heard in the platform in which you're communicating with people and they don't have to go off of site, that's even better. I have over 600 connections on LinkedIn. I have 500 and some odd followers. Not having your consumer leave LinkedIn to listen to, or your audience member or your listener or your buyer, the consumer, to leave LinkedIn to listen to the episode where you're already engaging and interacting with people, that is huge. And that is one of the things that small business owners and entrepreneurs and brands really need to focus on. You do not want people to have to click multiple times to get to the end buying decision. You want them to do it as much. You want to make it as easy for them as possible. And again, if you can embed this into X articles, that's even better. That's the reason why the video, the short form video works really good, or long form video. If you have a podcast that's a live video, you can put that whole thing now in X. And I encourage you to do that. Use the whole 2.5 hours that they allow you to do to put into X, because if someone can listen to your content and the idea of that content is to either get ads into it or to get people to make other buying decisions from it, and you can get that on X where, on X, I have 900 and some people. That is more people that I can push this to than they will probably see just this episode going out through Spotify. That's why social media is important. And that could be for your brand. That could be for anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be for podcasts. It could be for YouTube episodes. It could be for blogs. It could be forever. If you have a way to create that content in the place in which where you're interacting with people, that is so much better. But LinkedIn has so many other features that are so important. They have the ability to lives. They have the ability to have spaces. You have the ability to create the newsletter. You have the ability to create Sales Navigator, create a CRM system. There's learning inside of LinkedIn. I don't think enough people are utilizing LinkedIn, and I encourage you to not sleep on LinkedIn.
Hiring for your small business? If you're not looking for professionals on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. That's like looking for your car keys in a fish tank. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't even visit other leading job sites. So start looking in the right place. With LinkedIn, you can hire professionals like a professional. Post your free job on linkedin.com/achieve today.
We get it. Distractions happen. That's why we designed the fully electric, full-sized Volvo EX90 with the latest technology to keep you and those around you safe. Its two-sensor driver understanding system is designed to prevent distractions and help you stay focused. Reserve your Volvo EX90 today. Learn more at volvocars.com/US.
One of the things that frustrates me, but it's my fault also, is that I don't make enough time for the more thinking and more idea building that I probably should or need to or would like to, because of the fact that we have a lot of stuff going on. So for example, today I had about an hour, 2 hour worth of Merlin meetings trying to figure that piece out. Then I had about an hour and a half meeting with our marketing team, or what I'm now calling the technical team, the 3T Warrior Academy, to get a lot of some of this technical stuff fixed and figured out, and managing that a lot closer than I did in the past. And making sure that I'm not spending time on other areas. So kind of redefining some of the roles. And then before that, I had a meeting with Coach JV and with May about all of our businesses and things that we want to get better at and things like that. So what's that one? That was about an hour, a little bit over an hour. So an hour and 15 minutes. So 2 hours with that plus an hour and a half. So that's 1.5, 2.5. So we'll call it 3 hours with bathroom breaks. And then, so about 5 hours of meetings, roughly about 4.5 to 5 hours. And I had to jump back on, but Josh, we'll call it about 5 hours of meetings, and then that leads me to do social media, to do stuff. And that 8 hours goes by really, really fast, right? So you can continue to get better efficient at those things, or you need to learn how to, or you're going to have to go longer. It's just the fact. Sometimes you can't get more efficient to lower it because of the fact that you are as efficient as you can be, and the fact that you have too much stuff going on. Okay. So that being said, let's say that you're the most efficient, you have to add that time in. You have to still give time to like brainstorm and come up with ideas. And one of the ways that Coach JV does this, and this is where I started doing my, not learning, I knew about it, but he's talking about it because he does mind mapping a lot for his YouTube videos. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe I can start doing more mind mapping or setting time aside for that. I have not done any of it yet recently. Okay. Now, before, mind mapping is kind of like brainstorming and then mapping things out and coming up with ideas and then building action items along with it. Okay. That's the concept of it, which I have 100% done multiple times. But then when we were working on the technical aspect of converting our customer relationship management system from Entreport to a company called Omni, or Omni Boulevard, is that we were using Figma and their FigJam whiteboard space. And they have like a mind mapping tool inside of it. And so I was like, man, I can use this to start mind mapping more. So I thought maybe I should talk to you guys about it, because I'm going to start doing the actual mind mapping form of mind mapping and not using the old form of like brainstorming and coming up with stuff. So I kind of wanted to talk with you all here that are listening to me through this podcast about doing mind mapping, what it is. So maybe you can go do more research on it, because I'm going to start doing it, and I'm going to share with you kind of some of the ideas that come up with it. Now, I have my creativity journal. I have a yellow flip lectern that when I get questions or I get ideas in my head, I start writing down in it. But I think I want to spend a lot more time doing the thinking. I used to try to do a think week or a couple think weekend every couple of weeks throughout the year. And I want to get back to that, because it'll really just keep that creativity going. And when the creativity is going, I feel that we're more excited about what we're doing and we can push ourselves a lot more. So let's talk a little bit about what mind mapping specifically is and why it's beneficial. So essentially, mind mapping, it's a visual technique used to organize and represent ideas and information. So when we were growing up, and if you're a millennial or a Gen Xer or even a boomer on here, you might have remembered that we would brainstorm, we'd have an idea in the middle, and we would come up with things that go outside of it, and then you would come up with other things that are a part of that, and then you would create action items. Mind mapping is essentially that, or brainstorming. But one of the key things about the way in which it looks is you can do it in different ways, right? But I think one of the ways it looks really, really good, it looks like a network from a brain or from like brain nerves, is that if you have your main core idea and then you have a branch idea off of it, and then you branch that idea into like multiple different ideas, and then it can continue to grow. And so if you start off like say on the left side and you work your way over to the right side, you have this network of all these nerve endings, or you have like a tree branch that's just continuing to grow. So I know that that might be a little bit difficult to kind of see. I should be putting this on LinkedIn in an article, so I will try to give an example of that in an image if I don't forget to put it on LinkedIn, because there's so much stuff that goes on when you're an entrepreneur. But we'll keep chugging on through and adding a little bit and a little bit and a little bit. Or actually, if you go also into my dope updates, I will throw an image in there as well. So go and follow me on Instagram and subscribe for free to my dope updates channel. Absolutely free. You don't even have to put any information. You just click it and you say join dope updates. And so the benefits of mind mapping, and then I'll give an example that I found that I think that I like, is enhanced creativity and brainstorming. So mind mapping encourage free flow thought generation, making it easier to explore and connect your ideas. So when you start kind of coming up with this stuff and branching stuff off, you start seeing like, you kind of like get ideas from the other ideas, and it just kind of keeps going. And so again, one of the things that we need to do as entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs and as human beings is continue to learn how to be more and more creative. And one of the ways that we can do that is by doing these types of mind mapping, not only with our businesses, with our families, with our life, with our goals, with things that we want to accomplish. And you will start to see like that you're starting to become more creative, right? And you're able to brainstorm and come up with new ideas. The other thing why it's important is it improves your memory and retention. And I have type 1 diabetes, or diabetes, and however you want to pronounce it. And one of the things that my whole life revolves around my brain. Like, I'm not even the smartest person in the world. I couldn't even imagine how I would feel if I was even if my IQ was high. And I'm not saying my IQ is not high. I'm saying that like, if my IQ was like genius level IQ, I would even be even more worried about losing my ability to think. But thinking is so important to me, and knowledge is so important to me, that it was one of my fears in life, is that Alzheimer's or dementia will eventually take over. And so anything that I can do to improve memory and retention, which again, the best one that you can do to improve your memory and retention is learn another language. If you want to improve your memory and retention more than anything, not to go too off topic here, is learn another language. So again, that's one of my goals in life, is to become a polyglot in some capacity. And then the second thing is music. So if you focus on music and learning music, and also to reading music, kind of like another language, and then learning language, you create different pathways in your brain. And so what that means is so what happens is Alzheimer's, from my understanding, and I'm not an Alzheimer's expert, but I listened to a podcast about it, is that Alzheimer's tends to decay or deteriorate different pathways inside of your brain. Okay. Or maybe that's just brain deterioration. And you can't think the same that you used to think. But when you are learning language, you actually create different pathways for your ability for your brain to get the information that you need. So rather than having one route to get information, language opens up your brain to have multiple routes to that same information. So if that one pathway gets closed off through brain deterioration or whatever, your mind can go and move to the other pathway to get the information that you need. And so I encourage everybody, if you're afraid of Alzheimer's like I am, and dementia, and want to support Alzheimer's and dementia, please give to your local or to the Alzheimer's and dementia thing, or Hilarity for Charity, which is Seth Rogen's charity for Alzheimer's. And I know a lot of people that follow us don't support Bill Gates. I support Bill Gates, and I support his research because his father, I believe, died from Alzheimer's. And it's something that's very passionate and very near and dear to my heart, not only because I'm afraid of it, but also because of the fact that when you have diabetes, you have a much higher risk for Alzheimer's and dementia. So to get back on path, mind mapping also improves your memory and retention. So the visual nature of mind map, so visualization is really good. So if we can think about language learning and apply it to language learning is really good when you have visualization. So rather than trying to remember that the sink is, because I can't remember the name, sink in Spanish. If the bathroom is baño, if you see a picture of a bathroom and you're like baño, I think that's baño, I could be wrong. If you speak Spanish, make fun of me later, whatever. I don't care. Then you're going to remember that bathroom is baño. Okay. And so that's really important, because when we see visualization and the visualization of seeing the mind map, it helps us in better recalling of that information by using keywords, images, and colors. So in mind mapping, you tend to use a lot of color imagery, keywords, and things of that nature. You don't have to, but if you do those things, you're likely to recall that information better, which is really important, because not only does it improve your memory and retention, it's going to improve your ability to recall the goals and the things that you are setting during that mind mapping session. So if you mind map before you are going to go and do something or make something, and you're wanting to come up with key topics to talk about, like with Coach JV and his YouTube channel, if he mind maps that stuff before he does the YouTube episode or whatever, then he'll recall that information a lot better when he is actually presenting it through the YouTube episode, if that makes sense. Okay. The third thing is it makes complex information more simple. So by breaking down information into smaller, manageable parts, mind maps make it easier to understand and process complex topics. So just like if you're doing a very hard task and you break that up into smaller tasks to get the bigger tasks done, information works the same way for us. So when you're breaking down information into smaller pieces, it allows you to understand those things a lot better. And that's one of the things that makes people can get frustrated with when they are going through a learning process, is because shit is fucking complicated and not everybody has the IQ or the recall or the memory or whatever the case is to understand or remember all of that information. So when we're breaking things down into smaller chunks, it makes it super manageable for us to, move forward with those chunks. The other thing that it does, one of my favorite things, which if you saw my office right now, you'd be like, this motherfucker is not organized at all, because there's so many books in here, because I went on a book buying spree for building a library. And they say that if you have 1,000 books, you have a library. And I would say that I might be pretty close to that. But the great thing about mind mapping is it creates better organization and planning. So mind maps provide a clear structure of organizing your thoughts, making them useful for project planning, note-taking, and again, goal setting, which again, I wanted to do some mind mapping yesterday, before I did this episode, just to kind of have more of an idea of doing it specifically and some of the benefits. But again, it's very similar to brainstorming. I think just mind mapping is easier. And I think if you subscribe to Figma or get FigJam, they have a great tool in there that is easily to use for the mind mapping. In fact, it literally says mind mapping on it. You can click it and start mind mapping. In fact, if there is a mind mapping blog by Figma, not a whole blog, but like a blog article through Figma that you can go to get, support and ideas for mind mapping as well, which I'll try to find that and try to link in the episode description, but I might forget, because you never know, because of the diabetes that I was just talking about. Enhanced problem solving and decision making. So mind mapping can help with enhanced problem solving and decision making. So it helps in visualizing different aspects of a problem, making it easier to analyze and find solutions. And so this is one of the most important key pieces in mind mapping or sitting down and talking with your thoughts. And one of the things that I find is people don't have the capacity to sit and do that type of problem solving and decision making for long periods of time. And so I think that doing exercises, utilizing mind maps and having everybody be a part of it for a larger, problem and coming together, well, it allows you not only to work together, but you can come up with better problem solving or solutions to the problem than you otherwise would if you were alone, one. And then two, I think it's important that when you're tackling a problem, if you take time to dissect the problem, to look at all of the solutions, you can work to make better solutions than coming together and just talking about it and then just coming up with an answer without actually deep diving into the different aspects of the problem, because there might be better solutions to it. So a lot of the times when I see in business, in our business and in other businesses, is like everybody has a problem, we have an idea to solve that problem, and we talk about it and we have a solution to it in like 30 or 40 minutes. Then what ends up happening is that when we go through that solution, we come back with all these other things that happen with that solution. And that's because we didn't sit down and do something like mind mapping to look at different aspects of the problem or what other problems our solutions could create if we were to do it. And that is why for business owners and entrepreneurs, it's very, very important, or high level management or managers in general, it's very important to really look at problems in the way in which mind mapping works or which brainstorming works, because of the fact that you can uncover new problems that might be created from the solutions, or you might be not looking at the problem the correct way, and you might be able to see other aspects of the problem itself. Okay, now you might be asking me, well, what the hell is an example of a mind map? And to be honest with you, I tried to find examples and I didn't like any of the examples that I found. It would have been better if I just created my own and then gave that as an example, but I didn't. And you guys can be like, well, you're telling us to do something that you've never done before. And like I said, I understand. I'm going to talk to you about it after I do it also, but it's very similar to brainstorming. And I'm telling you about it as I'm doing it, which is the point of this podcast. Okay, so I am going to use an example from a real life scenario of a different person doing it with a different person. I'm not going to say names and I'm not going to say any specifics. But if we take this idea of mind mapping, let's kind of map this out. Let me go find this. I thought I had it available, but apparently I did not. So the main thing was we wanted to come up with, like, this is a goal aspect of it. So 4-month goals. Okay, let's mind map out some 4-month goals. So what are the branches that are come off of the goals for you? So in this example, someone put business, they put like spiritual and personal growth as one branch, and they put financial as one branch. Okay. And then what they did was from those goals, those main topic goals, right? Our main topics or our main branches are business, spiritual / personal, and financial. Okay. This is super easy from a goal perspective. Okay. And you could keep taking this and making it longer and longer. Okay. And so the business branch is one color, the spiritual branch is another color, and the financial is another color, so that we can see how these things all relate to their larger branch. Okay. And so from the business, they want us to take a step back and analyze profit and loss. They want to get out on the field because maybe they have workers out in the field. Okay. And they want to scale up by focusing on making better systems and processes. And they want to work on increasing their profit margins. Okay. That's all their first color branch. We'll say that branch is pink. Okay. Then they have a blue colored branch, which is a spiritual and personal. Improve their physical health and mindset, then develop skills to manage the business stress. Okay. Then that's blue. Then they have green, financial. Makes sense, financial. Create profit and move it into a cash generating asset. So they want to create profit from their business. They want to take that and buy assets that create more income. Okay. All investors and entrepreneurs should be focused on that. Develop a crypto game plan. They want to establish a hard asset strategy. They want to establish some real estate opportunities, move property over to the trust, move LLC over to the trust. So they want to build trust. They want to look at income generating assets or cash generating assets. They want to, and then develop plans for their investments. Okay. And so that's pink, blue, and green. Then what they could do is, they didn't do this one for the example, but then they could go and we could branch off into how we actually do those things. We can take it as deep as we want. And the more deep and the more, I guess, maybe granular that you get, or branchy that you get in this case, the better it is, because then what happens is you can start looking and seeing clear-cut actions that you need to do to make these things happen. The other thing too is, if I'm looking at this and I'm thinking about this, like I can see like scaling up by focusing on people, systems, and processes. So we could branch this off into other things. The other thing is increase profit margins. Okay, well, that's something that a business wants to do, but we need to get more granular. And so we want to go deeper into these so we can set up actionable items of how to actually do this stuff. And then what we can do is we can take these action items away and we say, okay, so for this period of time, we're going to work on these 3. For this period of time, we're going to work on these 2. And we're going to reassess every, quarter or twice a year for the next 5 years to see how we're doing on it. And I know you're like, fuck it, that's a lot of time. One of the things that people do not do enough, and I'm just going to say this again, is they don't plan, and they don't plan for a long enough period of time. They want their plans to come true too shortly, and they don't give it enough time to reassess, and they don't give it enough time to grow. If I take a step back and I look at my X account, every time I see my fucking X account, I'm like, God, this thing's not growing. Okay, I need to change my strategy. I actually changed my strategy and it's working a little bit. I have 902 followers now, right? And so you should go and follow my X account to give me 903 followers. But apart from that, and it's at Age of Jeremy Q, apart from that is that That's okay, because a year ago I only had half that. So I've doubled my users in a year, right? Because nothing's really like gone viral. It's just I'm slowly gaining these people that like following me and like listening. The engagement is slowly going up. And if you do that for a long enough period of time, go back and reassess, go back and see some of the things that you suck at it and reevaluate it. Those things grow over time. That's why generational wealth can be built if people are slower about it and they focus on it. And it sucks because if you're the patriarch of the family and you're the first business owner, you might not experience it the same way in which the second generation would, or the third generation or the fourth generation. But you have to have a change in your business, or in your life, or your family genetics or your family epigenetics, to make the, maybe not genetics, but like your family's behaviors, to be able to push your family forward, to make it where your legacy lives on long after you. And one of the best ways that to do is through business and through family. So what I would recommend, again, real quick as a rehash, a mind map is just like a main thing, and then there's branches, and then there's branches of the branches and branches of the branches to brainstorm or map out certain things so that you can get an idea of how to problem solve them, or how to solve the problems and different aspects of the specific problem that you're trying to solve. The other thing for a recap is why it's important is it enhances creativity and brainstorming. It enhances improved memory and retention. It simplifies complex information. It helps you better organize and plan, and it enhances problem solving and decision-making skills that you would not have otherwise seen if you didn't sit down and mind map. So Figma is one of my favorite companies. It really frustrates me that Adobe wasn't able to buy Figma. I did use Adobe XD. Figma, I'm a super Adobe fan, and I used Adobe XD, but then I use Figma, and I'm like a Figma geek boy now, or whatever you want to call. I'm a huge Figma person, and I really like FigJam. I like FigJam a lot more than any of the other like similar white space boarding thing. Like if you have people that you share that Figma with, you can all work on this giant whiteboard fantastic together. And I get there's lots of other of those types of things out there. Miro, I think, is one of them, or Miro is another one, or Mira or Miro is another one. But I'm a huge fan of Figma because not only do they have FigJam, which is their white space whiteboard thing, you can also design, it allows you to create user interface design. So like the Age of Radio app that I built out is using Figma, which eventually I'll start redesigning that and reworking it, and then getting the developers to fucking make an app one of these days. It's been like 5 fucking years. Excuse my language. I get very frustrated about it because I took a lot of steps back multiple times to do other stuff, but that is part of being an entrepreneur. And the reason why you're listening to this podcast is so you don't make the same mistakes that I make, and make sure that you're still focusing on getting the products and services that you want out into the marketplace while you're building out other people's products and services, and figure out a way to do it, even if it takes everything that you have. And if you heard air out there, I'm cleaning off my keyboard because apparently it's dirty. So that being said, go get Figma, go try mind mapping, or go find another software that allows you to mind map better. And as I always say, be thankful, grateful, and kind, and we'll talk with you next time. Bye.
You were born in your dying, honey, I'm already crying for you.
Make sure you follow me on all social medias at Age of Jeremy, except for on LinkedIn, it's Cesar Jeremy Quintanilla. On Facebook, it's Cesar Jeremy Quintanilla. And on X, it's at Age of Jeremy Q. If you have questions for financial stuff, go ahead and Snapchat me, or snap me, or DM me on Instagram. I prefer that you snap me because I think it's cool snapping back with people, and I would love to build more relationships that way. The opening song was Positive Change by Gaslight Anthem, or Positive Change by Gaslight Anthem. Closing song is Gardens by Trevor Hall. I'm recording into a Neumann microphone. I think it's KSM 104. I'm using my L8 by Zoom Lab Core, and I am recording into Steinberg's Cubase, and I'm using Waves plugins. Although I'm not using Waves plugins while I'm recording this, I'm going to use Waves plugins in post. Again, one last time, be thankful, grateful, and kind, and we'll talk with you soon. Bye.